Right now, as you're watching this, your soul might be screaming at you, and you don't even know it. Most people think spiritual awakening is all love and light, meditation cushions and good vibes. They're dead wrong. Real awakening feels like your entire world is being torn apart from the inside out. And here's the brutal truth nobody wants to tell you. If you're going through unexplained depression, if you're suddenly questioning everything you once believed, if you feel like you're losing your mind, while everyone around you seems perfectly content, living in what feels like a fantasy, you're not broken. You're awakening. And it's about to get a whole lot more intense before it gets better. Most people experiencing these signs think they're having a mental breakdown, so they medicate themselves, distract themselves, or worse, they convince themselves to go back to sleep. But you clicked on this video for a reason. Deep down, you know something bigger is happening to you. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly what your soul is trying to tell you. And more importantly, you'll know how to navigate this transformation without losing yourself in the process. Part 1. The Emotional Investment Portfolio Strategy. You wake up every morning with a limited amount of emotional energy. Think of it like having $1,000 in your emotional bank account. Now here's the question that will change everything. Where are you spending that money? Most people throw their emotional currency around like confetti at a parade, wondering why they feel broke and exhausted by sunset. There's a secret that financially successful people know that emotionally successful people have figured out too. They don't invest equally in everything. They study the returns. They track what gives back and what just takes. They make calculated decisions about where their resources go. Your emotions work exactly the same way. Every person in your life, every situation you engage with, every drama you participate in, they're all investments. Some investments pay dividends. They give you energy, support, love, and growth in return. Others are like throwing money into a black hole. They take and take and take, leaving you with nothing but receipts for your pain. Here's what nobody teaches you in school. You can love someone and still be a terrible emotional investment. You can care about a situation and still lose money on it every single day. The people who master emotional detachment without losing their humanity understand this fundamental truth. So what's the first strategy out of 10 that will transform how you handle your emotional world? It's treating your feelings like a portfolio manager treats their investments. You're about to learn the Emotional Investment Portfolio Strategy. And it starts with a simple audit that will shock you. Look at your relationships right now. Draw an invisible line down the middle. On one side, put the people who reciprocate your energy. These are your high-return investments. They listen when you speak. They show up when you need them. They celebrate your wins and support you through losses. When you invest emotional energy in them, you get emotional energy back. On the other side, list your emotional money pits. These are the people who drain your account without making deposits. They take your advice but never follow it. They dump their problems on you but disappear when you need support. They expect your emotional labor but offer none in return. The revelation most people never have is this. You can divest from emotional money pits without becoming a cold person. You can care about someone from a distance. You can wish them well without funding their emotional chaos with your peace. Starting today, become intentional about your emotional investments. Spend more energy on relationships that appreciate your investment. Pull your energy back from relationships that depreciate it. This isn't cruel. It's wise resource management. Part 2. The Observer's Balcony Technique. Have you ever watched a movie and found yourself screaming at the screen? "Don't go in there. He's lying to you. Can't you see what's happening?" From your seat in the theater, the answers seem obvious. The drama feels manageable. You can see the whole picture clearly. But when you're the star of your own emotional drama, suddenly you can't see anything clearly. You're too close to the action. You're too invested in the outcome. You're drowning in the very story you're trying to navigate. There's a technique that therapists pay thousands to learn, that CEOs use in boardrooms, that negotiators employ in high-stakes deals. It's so simple you'll think it can't possibly work. But it's so powerful that once you master it, you'll wonder how you ever made emotional decisions without it. The second strategy out of 10 is about changing your perspective instantly, and it's called the Observer's Balcony Technique. Here's how it works. The next time you're caught in emotional quicksand, whether it's a fight with your partner, drama at work, or family chaos, mentally step onto an imaginary balcony above the situation. Picture yourself floating up and looking down at the scene like you're watching a movie. From this elevated view, you become the observer of your own drama, instead of the star actor drowning in it. You can see patterns you missed. You can spot manipulation you couldn't detect from ground level. You can identify your own reactive behaviors that aren't serving you. But here's the magic question that activates this technique. Ask yourself, when you're on the ground level of your emotions, you're reactive. When you're on the balcony looking down, you're responsive. Reactive people get played. Responsive people make strategic moves. This doesn't mean you stop caring. It means you start caring strategically. You maintain your humanity while gaining emotional intelligence. You keep your heart open while protecting your peace. The most emotionally intelligent people you know have mastered this balcony view. They can step out of their emotions without stepping away from their values. They can detach from the drama without detaching from the people they love. Practice this daily. Every emotional situation is an opportunity to float up to your balcony and see the bigger picture. Your future self will thank you for developing this skill. Part 3. The Emotional Thermostat Method. Your house has a thermostat that adjusts the temperature based on what the room needs. When it's hot outside, the air conditioning kicks in. When it's cold, the heat turns on. The temperature isn't random, it's calibrated to create the perfect environment. Most people treat their emotions like they're stuck with whatever emotional weather happens to blow through. Someone's rude to them and they freeze up. Someone's manipulative and they boil over. They think emotions are binary. Either you're cold and heartless or you're hot and overwhelmed. But what if you could install an internal thermostat for your emotions? What if you could adjust your emotional temperature based on what each situation actually deserves? Here's the third strategy out of 10, and it's going to revolutionize how you respond to people. It's called the Emotional Thermostat Method, and it starts with a simple recognition. Not every person deserves the same emotional temperature from you. Your mother deserves your full warmth. The random stranger who cuts you off in traffic deserves room temperature at best. Your toxic ex deserves the emotional equivalent of a cold shoulder. But most people give everyone the same emotional intensity. They heat up for people who don't deserve it and stay cold toward people who do. They waste emotional energy maintaining the wrong temperature for the wrong people. Installing your emotional thermostat means becoming intentional about your emotional responses. It means recognizing that you have settings, not just reactions. When someone deserves your full warmth, turn up the heat, be present, be engaged, be emotionally available. When someone has proven they can't handle your emotional energy responsibly, dial it down. Be polite but not passionate. Be kind but not connected. This isn't manipulation, it's emotional intelligence. It's recognizing that your emotional energy is precious and should be distributed based on what each relationship has earned. The people who master this technique understand that emotional detachment isn't about becoming cold, it's about becoming calibrated. It's about matching your emotional output to what the situation actually deserves. Some conversations deserve your full emotional presence. Others deserve a pleasant but distant response. Some people have earned your trust and vulnerability. Others have only earned your politeness. Your emotional thermostat protects your energy while maintaining your ability to connect deeply with people who deserve that depth. It's not about building walls. It's about building boundaries that let the right people in while keeping energy vampires at an appropriate distance. Start paying attention to your emotional temperature in different situations. Notice when you're giving too much heat to people who waste it and too little warmth to people who appreciate it. Part 4. The Energy Leak Audit. Imagine your emotional energy is like water in a bucket. Every morning you start with a full bucket, but throughout the day, tiny holes appear. Water drips out slowly, steadily, silently. By evening, you're running on empty, wondering where all your energy went. Most people live with energy leaks they don't even notice. The hemorrhaging emotional energy in ways that seem invisible, but add up to exhaustion. They think they're just naturally tired people, when really they're people with undiagnosed energy leaks. There's a practice that successful people do that keeps them energized while others burn out. They conduct regular audits to find and fix their energy leaks. They track where their energy goes and ruthlessly plug the holes that don't serve them. The 4th strategy out of 10 is going to help you reclaim energy you didn't even know you were losing. It's called the Energy Leak Audit, and it starts with brutal honesty about where your emotional energy actually goes. Energy leaks happen in 3 main areas. First, overthinking conversations. You replay what you said, what they said, what you should have said, what they might say next. Your brain runs the same conversation on repeat, draining your battery with mental loops that solve nothing. Second, replaying scenarios. You rehash arguments, mistakes, embarrassing moments, worst-case futures. You live in mental time machines that transport you everywhere except the present moment, where your actual life is happening. Third, giving unsolicited emotional labor. You worry about problems that aren't yours. You feel responsible for other people's feelings. You carry emotional burdens that nobody asked you to carry and that you can't actually solve. Here's how to conduct your weekly energy leak audit. At the end of each day, ask yourself 3 questions. What conversations did I replay unnecessarily? What scenarios did I rehash that I can't change? What emotional labor did I provide that wasn't requested or appreciated? Then comes the crucial part, plugging the leaks ruthlessly. When you catch yourself replaying conversations, redirect your attention to something productive. When you notice yourself rehashing unchangeable scenarios, remind yourself that mental time travel steals energy from your actual present. When you find yourself carrying emotional burdens that aren't yours, put them down. Other people's feelings are not your responsibility to manage. Other people's problems are not your responsibility to solve. The people who master emotional detachment without losing empathy understand that energy conservation isn't selfish, it's necessary. You can't pour from an empty cup. You can't help others if you're emotionally bankrupt yourself. Start your energy leak audit today. Track where your emotional energy goes and plug the holes that serve no purpose. Part 5. The Reverse Empathy Shield. Empathy is supposed to be a superpower. It's the ability to understand and share the feelings of others. It connects us, makes us human, helps us build meaningful relationships. But for some people, empathy becomes a curse instead of a gift. They walk into a room and absorb everyone else's stress. They talk to a friend, having a bad day, and suddenly feel depressed themselves. They watch the news and carry the weight of the world's problems on their shoulders. Their empathy has no boundaries, no filters, no off switch. These people think having boundaries around empathy makes them cold or uncaring. They believe that true empathy means feeling everything everyone else feels. They've turned their emotional sensitivity into emotional martyrdom. But there's a way to be deeply empathetic without drowning in other people's emotions. There's a method that lets you understand others without absorbing their pain. It's about flipping the script on how empathy works. The fifth strategy out of 10 is going to teach you how to protect your emotional energy while maintaining your ability to connect. It's called the reverse empathy shield, and it starts with a radical mindset shift. Instead of automatically absorbing everyone else's emotions, you're going to practice selective empathy. You're going to consciously choose when to let others' emotions affect you and when to observe them from a safe distance. Here's the key distinction most people miss. You can understand someone's pain without making it your own. You can acknowledge someone's struggle without struggling alongside them. You can offer support without taking on their burden. Think of yourself as an emotional lifeguard instead of someone drowning alongside the person you're trying to help. A lifeguard understands that someone is drowning, feels compassion for their situation, and takes action to help. But the lifeguard doesn't jump in and start drowning too. That would help no one. Your reverse empathy shield works by creating conscious boundaries around what you absorb. When someone shares their problems with you, you can listen with compassion without taking their problems home with you. When someone is having a bad day, you can offer support without letting their bad day become yours. This isn't about becoming heartless. It's about becoming heart smart. It's recognizing that empathy with boundaries is still empathy. In fact, it's more useful empathy because you maintain the emotional stability needed to actually help. The people who master this technique understand that they serve others better when they're emotionally stable themselves. They can offer clearer advice, more consistent support, and more reliable presence because they're not constantly overwhelmed by everyone else's emotional weather. Practice conscious empathy. Feel with people, not for them. Support others without sacrificing your own peace. Your empathy becomes more powerful when it has boundaries. Part 6. The emotional GPS recalibration. You're driving somewhere important, and suddenly you're lost. Your first instinct might be to figure out exactly how you got lost, who gave you wrong directions, why the signs were confusing. You could spend hours analyzing the problem, but you'd still be lost. Smart drivers don't waste time analyzing how they got lost. They focus on one question: where do I want to end up? Then they let that destination guide their next moves. They route around the confusion instead of driving deeper into it. Most people handle emotional situations like lost drivers who never ask for new directions. They get stuck analyzing why someone hurt them, why the situation went wrong, why people acted the way they did. They drive in circles through their pain, getting more lost instead of finding their way out. The sixth strategy out of 10 is about stopping the emotional circling and starting the emotional navigation. It's called the emotional GPS recalibration, and it works by shifting your focus from problems to destinations. When you're emotionally lost in the situation, your brain wants to solve the mystery. Why did they say that? Why did they do that? What were they thinking? What did I do wrong? These questions feel important, but they keep you stuck in the problem instead of moving toward a solution. Here's the recalibration that changes everything. Stop asking, why did this happen? And start asking, where do I want to end up? Stop trying to figure out their motives and start clarifying your goals. Do you want to end up with peace of mind? Then route around the drama instead of driving through it. Do you want to end up with a stronger relationship? Then focus on communication that builds bridges instead of analyzing what burned them down. Do you want to end up with your self-respect intact? Then make choices that honor your values instead of choices that prove your point. Your emotional GPS recalibration works by keeping your destination in mind while you navigate current challenges. Every response you choose should move you closer to where you want to be, not deeper into where you've been. This doesn't mean you ignore problems or pretend everything is fine. It means you address problems in ways that serve your bigger goals. You handle conflict in ways that preserve what matters most to you. The people who master emotional detachment understand that energy spent analyzing problems is often energy stolen from creating solutions. They route around emotional drama the same way they'd route around traffic: efficiently, and without taking it personally. When you're emotionally lost, recalibrate your GPS. Ask yourself where you want to end up, and let that destination guide your choices. Your future self is waiting for you there. Part 7. The Response Delay Protocol. In the old days, when someone made you angry, you had to write a letter, find an envelope, buy a stamp, walk to a mailbox, and wait for delivery. By the time your angry words reached them, you'd usually cooled down enough to regret sending them. Now you can fire off responses in seconds. You can text, email, call, or comment instantly. Your emotions can travel at the speed of light, arriving before your wisdom has time to catch up. Your feelings get delivered before your better judgment gets consulted. Most relationship damage happens in the gap between feeling and thinking. Most regrettable words get spoken in the space between reaction and reflection. Most burned bridges could have been saved with just a little time between trigger and response. There's a protocol that diplomatic negotiators use, that successful CEOs follow, that emotionally intelligent people have mastered. It's so simple it seems obvious, but so powerful it can save relationships, careers, and your peace of mind. The 7th strategy out of 10 is about creating space between your emotions and your actions. It's called the Response Delay Protocol, and it's based on one life-changing principle. Time is the difference between responding from wisdom and reacting from wounds. Here's how it works. When something triggers strong emotions in you, anger, hurt, frustration, betrayal, implement a 24 to 48-hour delay before responding. This isn't about playing games or being manipulative. It's about giving your prefrontal cortex time to come online. When you're emotionally triggered, your amygdala hijacks your brain. You're operating from fight or flight mode, not from your higher thinking centers. The Response Delay Protocol lets your nervous system settle and your wisdom wake up. During the delay, your perspective shifts. What felt like a catastrophe yesterday feels manageable today. What seemed like an intentional attack yesterday reveals itself as a misunderstanding today. What demanded an immediate defensive response yesterday calls for a measured, strategic response today. This protocol saves you from sending texts you'll regret, having conversations you'll wish you'd handled differently, and making decisions you'll spend months trying to undo. It's the difference between responding from your trauma and responding from your truth. Your future self will thank your present self for implementing response delays. The version of you that exists after the emotions settle will be grateful that you didn't let the version of you that was emotionally hijacked make permanent decisions. The people who master emotional detachment know that urgency is often the enemy of accuracy. They understand that the most important responses deserve the most thoughtful timing. They respond from their wisdom rather than their wounds. Start implementing response delays today. Your relationships, your reputation, and your peace of mind will all benefit from this simple but powerful protocol. Part 8. The Emotional Archaeological Dig. Archaeologists don't just look at artifacts on the surface. They dig deeper to understand what's really underneath. They know that the most important discoveries are usually buried beneath layers of time, dirt, and surface-level assumptions. Your emotions work the same way. What you feel on the surface is rarely the whole story. Anger often covers hurt. Hurt often covers fear. Fear often covers unmet needs. If you only address surface emotions, you miss the real treasure buried underneath. Most people live their entire lives reacting to surface emotions, while never discovering what's actually driving them. They get angry and stay angry. They feel hurt and stay hurt. They experience fear and let it control them. They never dig deeper to find the root. The 8th strategy out of 10 is about becoming an archaeologist of your own emotional world. It's called the Emotional Archaeological Dig, and it's going to help you understand yourself in ways that create genuine freedom instead of temporary fixes. Here's how emotional archaeology works. The next time you have a strong emotional reaction, don't just react to it. Don't just try to make it go away. Instead, get curious about what's underneath it. If you're feeling angry, ask yourself, what's beneath this anger? Often you'll discover hurt. If you find hurt, ask, this isn't therapy speak. It's practical emotional intelligence. When you address the root emotion instead of just the surface reaction, you create lasting change instead of temporary relief. For example, you might get angry at your partner for being late, but underneath the anger, you discover hurt that they didn't consider your time valuable. Underneath the hurt, you find fear that you're not a priority in their life. Underneath the fear, you recognize an unmet need for respect and consideration. Now, instead of just fighting about lateness, you can have a conversation about feeling valued and prioritized. Instead of attacking surface behavior, you can address the deeper need. This creates connection instead of conflict. The emotional archaeological dig prevents emotional buildup. When you regularly excavate your deeper feelings, they don't accumulate and explode later. You process them as they arise, instead of storing them until they become overwhelming. The people who master emotional detachment understand that surface emotions are messengers, not masters. They dig deeper to find the real message instead of just shooting the messenger. Start excavating your emotional world. What you discover beneath the surface will set you free from patterns that have controlled you for years. Part 9. The Gratitude Redirect Technique. Your brain is designed to focus on problems. It's a survival mechanism that kept your ancestors alive by constantly scanning for threats, dangers, and things that could go wrong. But this same mechanism can trap you in mental loops that make you miserable. When someone hurts you, betrays you, or disappoints you, your brain wants to replay it endlessly. It wants to analyze every detail, examine every angle, and make sure you never forget how badly you were treated. This mental rehearsal feels productive, but it's actually poison. You end up giving your mental real estate to people who don't deserve it. You let their actions control your thoughts long after the actual event is over. You become a prisoner of your own analysis, trapped in stories about what was done to you. There's a technique that breaks this cycle instantly. It doesn't require you to pretend the hurt didn't happen or to forgive before you're ready. It simply redirects your mental energy towards something that serves you instead of something that drains you. The 9th strategy out of 10 is about reclaiming your mental power from people who misused it. It's called the Gratitude Redirect Technique, and it works by transforming your pain into your power. Here's how it works. When you catch yourself obsessing over what someone took from you or did to you, immediately list 3 things that situation taught you or 3 ways it made you stronger. This isn't about being grateful for abuse or pretending bad treatment was good. It's about refusing to let negative experiences have the final word in your story. Maybe someone's betrayal taught you to trust your instincts better. Maybe someone's rejection showed you that you don't need their approval to be valuable. Maybe someone's criticism revealed areas where you wanted to grow anyway. This technique is emotional alchemy. It transforms the lead of your pain into the gold of your growth. It takes the raw material of your worst experiences and builds something useful from them. The redirect doesn't happen automatically. Your brain will resist it at first because it's used to the familiar pattern of rumination and resentment. But every time you practice the redirect, you strengthen your ability to extract value from painful experiences. This isn't toxic positivity. You're not pretending everything happens for a reason or that all pain is good. You're simply refusing to let painful experiences be purely destructive. You're mining them for whatever wisdom, strength, or growth they might contain. The people who master this technique understand that every experience is either a blessing or a lesson. If it's not blessing your life with joy, let it bless your life with wisdom. If it's not making you happy, let it make you stronger. Your pain has already cost you enough. Don't let it cost you your mental freedom too. Use the Gratitude Redirect to transform your worst experiences into your greatest teachers. Part 10. The Future Self Check-in. 5 years from now, you'll be a different person. Your priorities will have shifted. Your problems will have changed. The things that keep you awake at night today will seem trivial to the person you're becoming. The drama that feels overwhelming right now will be forgotten completely. But here's what most people don't realize. That future version of yourself already exists in potential. They have perspectives you haven't developed yet, wisdom you haven't earned yet, and clarity you haven't achieved yet. They can see things about your current situation that you can't see from where you are now. Most people make emotional decisions based on how they feel in the moment, without consulting the person they're becoming. They invest emotional energy in temporary problems while neglecting permanent solutions. They get caught up in today's drama while losing sight of tomorrow's dreams. The 10th and final strategy is about tapping into the wisdom of your future self before making emotional investments. It's called the Future Self Check-in, and it's the ultimate filter for deciding what deserves your emotional energy. Here's how it works. Before getting emotionally invested in any drama, conflict, or situation, ask yourself one simple question. Will this matter to the person I'm becoming in 5 years? If the answer is yes, give it the emotional attention it deserves. If the answer is no, give it the minimal energy required to handle it appropriately, then redirect your focus to building the life you actually want. This question cuts through emotional fog instantly. It separates temporary turbulence from permanent priorities. It helps you invest your limited emotional energy in things that compound over time, instead of things that evaporate with time. Your future self doesn't care about most of the things that upset your current self. They don't care about the coworker who was rude to you, the friend who didn't text back fast enough, or the stranger who cut you off in traffic. They care about whether you built meaningful relationships, pursued your goals, and maintained your peace of mind. The future self check-in isn't just about avoiding drama. It's about actively choosing what to care about. It's about becoming intentional with your emotional investments instead of reactive to whatever demands your attention. This strategy transforms how you see conflicts, setbacks, and disappointments. Instead of asking, "Why is this happening to me?" you ask, "Will this matter to who I'm becoming?" Instead of getting lost in current problems, you stay connected to future possibilities. They make decisions based on where they're going, not just where they are. They let their future self guide their present choices. Your future self is waiting for you to make choices that serve them. They're hoping you'll save your emotional energy for building the life they want to live. Start consulting them before making emotional investments. They have wisdom you need. You now have 10 strategies that can transform your emotional life without hardening your heart. These aren't just techniques, they're tools for emotional freedom. They're ways to care deeply without drowning in that care, to love fully without losing yourself in that love. The art of letting go isn't about becoming cold or disconnected. It's about becoming selective, intentional, and wise with your emotional energy. It's about understanding that you can maintain your humanity while protecting your peace. You can stay empathetic while establishing boundaries. You can remain caring while becoming strategic about where that care goes. Your emotional energy is precious. It's limited. It's powerful. The people who master these strategies understand that emotional intelligence isn't about feeling everything. It's about feeling the right things in the right ways at the right times. Start with one strategy that resonates most with you. Practice it until it becomes natural. Then add another. These tools work best when they become habits, when they shift from conscious techniques to unconscious responses. Remember, you're not trying to feel less. You're trying to feel better. You're not building walls. You're building boundaries. You're not becoming heartless. You're becoming heart smart. The person you're becoming deserves emotional freedom. They deserve relationships that energize rather than drain them. They deserve peace of mind that isn't constantly disrupted by other people's chaos. Start building that reality today, one strategic emotional choice at a time.